He didn't get an invitation to my brother's wedding, so I went on a trip. Sorry, dear, this event is only for the people we actually love, my mother said. Dad added, some people just don't belong at family celebrations. When the wedding was canceled because of a debt, the whole family started begging me. But it was too late. It wasn't always this cold. Or maybe it was, and I just chose to wear fewer layers. Growing up, my role in the family was clear. I was the fixer. When my brother Trevor would overspend his allowance and borrow money from our mother's purse, I was the one who quietly slipped a $20 bill back in before she noticed. When he failed his sophomore year English class, I was the one who spent all summer tutoring him just so he could stay eligible for the sailing team. Trevor was the golden boy. He had the charm, the easy smile, the inherent ability to make our parents Gregory and Patricia swell with pride over achievements that were 90% flash and 10% substance. I was the quiet one, the data scientist, the one who lived in Boston chasing logic and code while he stayed in Charleston chasing the next big thrill. I was reliable. I was sensible. I was the one who cleaned up the messes. And for years I did it willingly, because I believed deep down that if I was useful enough someday, they would finally see me. For the last 5 years, I'd been putting money into a high-yield savings account, an account I never touched. I called it my duty fund. It held $35,000. It wasn't a down payment for my own condo. It wasn't a travel fund. It was bailout money. It was money I knew instinctively that my family would one day need, either for one of my father's legacy-obsessed anniversary parties or for the inevitable day when Trevor's charm finally failed to cover one of his catastrophic mistakes. That $35,000 was my attempt to buy approval. It was the price I was willing to pay to finally be loved. It's a strange thing, the psychology of a survivor living in a long-term toxic environment. You start to see your own pain as a currency. You think, if I can just endure enough, if I can just give enough, they will have to accept me. It's not hope. It's a ransom payment. I was living in an invisible prison, one where the walls were built from their conditional approval, and the lock was my own desperate need to belong. That $35,000. That wasn't an escape plan. It was just me handing over my own tools, begging the jailers to please just for a day call me part of the family. I was saving up to pay for my own acceptance. And I was about to find out just how worthless that currency truly was. The text message that broke me didn't come from my family. It came from an old college friend who still lived in Charleston. It was a photo. A glossy, professionally designed save-the-date card. Trevor and Olivia, smiling draped in linen, standing on the steps of some historic mansion. The date was set. The venue was booked. And beneath the elegant script, a link to their wedding website. My fingers felt numb as I typed in the address. The site was a masterpiece of old money aesthetics. A timeline of their love story, a registry filled with items that cost more than my car, and a gushing description of the upcoming event of the season. A $750,000 wedding. I scrolled through the guest information, the travel details, the list of cocktail hours and brunches. My name wasn't there. I went to my own mailbox just in case. Maybe the mail was slow. Maybe the digital invite got lost. Nothing. Just junk mail and a bill. It wasn't an oversight. It was a decision. I booked a flight to Charleston for the next morning. I didn't pack a bag. I just took my laptop case and the clothes I was wearing. When I arrived at the house, the front gate was open. A floral delivery van was parked in the driveway. I walked right in. My mother Patricia and my father Gregory were in the formal dining room with a woman holding a binder. They were looking at fabric swatches. They both looked up when I walked in. Not with surprise. Not with guilt. With annoyance. "Claire," my mother said, her voice tight. "This isn't a good time. We're in the middle of planning." "I saw the save the date," I said. My voice was quiet, but it echoed in the cavernous room. I just wanted to know why I wasn't invited. My father sighed, that deep, impatient sound he made when I was wasting his time. "Claire, let's not make this dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic," I said. "I'm asking a question. Why was I excluded from my own brother's wedding?" Patricia stepped forward, placing her hand on my arm. It wasn't a gesture of comfort. It was a gesture of control. Darling, she said, her voice syrupy sweet. You have to understand. This isn't just a wedding. This is a $750,000 social event. Olivia's family is. Well, they're Olivia's family. Everything has to be perfect. She looked at my jeans, my simple boots, my entire Boston-based existence. Your presence, she said, searching for the kindest possible word. It's just complicated. It's not the right fit for the image we're presenting. I stared at her. The image you're presenting. We just can't have any distractions, she finished. I looked past her to my father. He was examining a silver napkin ring, refusing to meet my eyes. He just nodded a slight firm agreement. He agreed. I was a distraction. I pulled my arm away from her. So who is invited? My mother gave me a look of pity, the kind you give a child who just doesn't understand. Darling, she said, her voice dropping to a confidential whisper. This event is only for the people we actually love. I don't remember the flight back to Boston. I must have gotten in a cab. I must have unlocked my apartment door. The next thing I clearly remember is standing in my kitchen at 2 a.m, the blue light of my laptop screen illuminating the room. My mother's words just kept playing on a loop. Only for the people we actually love. It wasn't even an attack. It was a statement of fact. A simple categorization. There were the people who were loved, and then there was me. I opened my banking app. There it was. The account I'd poured my spare income into for 5 years. Duty fund. $35,000. I looked at that number and I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt cold. A surgical precise clarity. I had been paying for a seat at a table I was never meant to sit at. I was an insurance policy they never planned on cashing in. My fingers moved across the keyboard. I clicked Edit Account Name. I deleted Duty Fund. I typed Freedom Fund. I transferred every penny into my checking account. Then I opened a travel website. I typed in Florence, Tuscany. I found a small villa for rent overlooking a vineyard. I found a first-class flight. I booked it all. The departure date, the Thursday before Trevor's wedding. The return date, the Monday after. I was going to spend the entire duration of their perfect event in the birthplace of the Renaissance having a rebirth of my own. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post about it. I just went. When the plane touched down in Italy, I turned my phone off. Not on silent. Not on airplane mode. Off. I spent the next 3 days doing everything they said I was too complicated for. I woke up with the Sunday I drank espresso on a terrace that smelled like ancient stone and rosemary. I wandered through the Uffizi Gallery for 6 hours, letting centuries of art wash over me. I sat in a piazza drinking Chianti, eating bread and oil, and I didn't just look at the art, I listened to it. I was breathing in history, beauty, and a quiet sense of self that had nothing to do with anyone else. While they were adjusting cummerbunds and finalizing seating charts in Charleston, I was standing in front of Botticelli's Birth of Venus. While they were lining up for photos, forcing smiles, and checking their watches, I was tasting wine that was older than my parents' marriage. On Saturday, the day of the wedding, I sat at an outdoor cafe. The bells of the Duomo were ringing. I raised my glass to no one in particular. They were celebrating my exclusion, and I finally was celebrating my freedom. I stayed in that bubble of peace for 4 days. 4 days of disconnected bliss. On the 5th day, a Sunday, I was sitting on my terrace when a thought drifted in, just a practical one. My flight home was in 2 days. I should probably check in, make sure there were no delays. I pulled my phone from the bottom of my suitcase and plugged it in. When it booted up, the screen didn't just light up. It exploded. A flood of notifications so fast my screen couldn't keep up. Missed calls, voicemails, text messages, a wall of digital panic. 47 missed calls, 22 texts from my mother, 15 from my father, even a few from Trevor himself. My heart hammered. Had something happened? Was someone hurt? I opened my mother's last text first. It was pure chaos riddled with typos. Claire, you need to call me now. It's a disaster. The wedding is off. Call me. Gregory is going to have a heart attack. Call me. The wedding was off. I scrolled to the next message, this one from my father. It was colder. more terrifying. The wedding has been postponed indefinitely. There is a legal situation involving Trevor. We require your immediate discretion and assistance. Stop ignoring these messages. Legal situation. My hands were shaking. I found a text from an old family friend in Charleston. Claire, I don't know what's going on, but I just heard the Carringtons are threatening to press charges against Trevor. The wedding is definitely canceled. Are you okay? Charges. I finally opened a voicemail from my mother recorded 12 hours ago. Her voice wasn't sad. It was shrill, terrified, and furious. Claire, where are you? You need to come home, Trevor. Oh God, Trevor. It turns out he took money from Olivia's family trust. They found out during the final paperwork. They're saying he embezzled. Embezzled. The word hung in the quiet Tuscan air. It's $750,000. Claire, $750,000. They're threatening to call the police to press criminal charges. Gregory is ruined. Our name. Our entire family is ruined. You have to fix this. I slowly set the phone down. It wasn't just debt. It wasn't a mistake. It was theft. My golden boy brother, the future of the family legacy, was a common thief. He hadn't just failed to live up to their expectations. He had single-handedly destroyed the only thing they truly cared about, their reputation. The phone rang again in my hand. My father. I stared at his name. The man who had agreed I was too complicated to invite. The man who said the wedding was only for those they actually loved. And now he was calling the one person he'd cast out, begging for a rescue. The power had just shifted. I sat there on my terrace, an Italy wine glass in hand, watching my phone ring. It was a video call this time, from my father. I let it ring 3 times, then I answered. My screen filled with the faces of my family crowded together in my father's dark wood-paneled study in Charleston. They looked awful. My mother Patricia, her eyes red and puffy makeup smeared. My father Gregory, his face gray and strained. And Trevor, my golden boy brother. He just looked empty. Claire, my mother started, her voice breaking. Thank God. We've been trying to reach you. Did you hear what happened? I heard the wedding's off, I said, my voice calm. It's a misunderstanding, my father jumped in, his corporate CEO voice sounding weak and thin. Trevor made a mistake, a clerical error, and Olivia's family is. They're overreacting. Embezzling $750,000 isn't a clerical error, Dad. The lie died on his lips. They stared at me. We don't have time to argue about the details. Patricia snapped, her desperation making her sharp. They're threatening to file charges tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, Claire, if that happens, our name, Gregory's legacy, everything we've built, it's over. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. But what does that have to do with me? We don't need your money, Trevor said, his voice hoarse. It was the first time he'd spoken. We need you. I waited. You're the data scientist, my father said, leaning into the camera. His eyes were pleading. You work with numbers, with systems. You understand this. This digital world. They're talking about an audit. We need you to look at the books. Find a way to move things. I stared at him. Move things. Fix it, Claire, my mother finally shrieked. You're smart, you can do that, computer magic you do. Make the numbers look right. Just until we can talk to them, find a way to pay it back quietly, we just need time. The irony was so thick I could barely breathe. My entire life, my career was a complication. My passion for data was a disappointment because it wasn't a law degree. My logical mind wasn't charming like Trevor's. My whole life I was the one who didn't fit. And now here they were begging me to use that exact skill, my computer magic, to commit a felony. To risk my own career, my own freedom, to hide the crime of the son they did love. You want me to falsify financial records, I said. You want me to commit a crime to save Trevor. Your family, Patricia cried. This is what family does. You help each other after everything we've given you. What did you give me, I asked. You gave me a role as the family disappointment. You excluded me from my own brother's wedding. You told me not even a week ago that I wasn't someone you actually loved. We didn't mean it like that, she sobbed. Yes, you did, I said. You just never thought you'd need me again. I looked at Trevor. He was just watching me, his face hollow. He wasn't a golden boy. He was just a weak man who had finally been caught. I can't help you, I said. Claire, don't do this, Gregory begged. I'm your father. I'm ordering you to fix this. No, I said. You can't order me. You can't guilt me. You can't buy me. I'm not your employee, and I'm not your ATM, and I'm not your fixer. Not anymore. I held the phone up, looking at their 3 desperate faces framed by the beautiful Tuscan sunset behind me. I can't fix this, Trevor, I said, speaking directly to my brother. And I won't. You're on your own. I ended the call. As the screen went dark, I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel triumph. I just felt still. For years, I believed that family meant enduring anything just because we shared blood. I thought cutting toxic ties was a betrayal. But I was wrong. That call wasn't a test of my loyalty. It was a test of my integrity. True loyalty isn't about protecting people who hurt you. It's about protecting the person you've become. Letting go of a toxic bloodline isn't an act of abandonment. It's an act of self-preservation. It's the moment you finally stop apologizing for existing and realize you are your own. The legal fallout was exactly what you'd expect. Trevor didn't go to prison. Olivia's family in the end didn't want the public humiliation of a criminal trial. They settled. Trevor was forced to repay every cent, liquidating any assets he had. He was fired, of course, and blacklisted from the financial world. The engagement was naturally over. My father and mother weren't charged, but they faced a different kind of sentence. The Charleston social scene is small and unforgiving. The story of the $750,000 embezzlement covered up until the last minute ruined them. Gregory's legacy became a punchline at the country club. Patricia was no longer invited to host the charity galas. They were social outcasts trapped in their perfect house, paying the price they truly feared: public irrelevance. I heard about it all from a distance. I never called them back. I just let it be. Months passed. The crisp air of autumn rolled into Boston. The world moved on. I moved on. And then it was Thanksgiving. For the first time in my life, I didn't book a flight to Charleston. I didn't brace myself for invasive questions and backhanded compliments. Instead, I bought a turkey. My small Boston apartment was overflowing. The air was warm, thick, with the smell of roasting garlic and sage. My friends were crowded around my kitchen island, laughing, chopping vegetables, opening wine. My chosen family. The doorbell rang. I opened it, and he was standing there. Trevor. He looked thinner. The arrogant charm was gone, replaced by something quieter, more fragile. He was holding a cheap bouquet of grocery store flowers. I wasn't sure if I should, he said, his voice quiet. I'm glad you came, I said, and I meant it. He stepped inside, looking around at the noise, the laughter, the warmth. It was so different from the cold, formal holidays we'd grown up with. Later, we stood on my small balcony, looking out at the city lights. I'm in a program, he said. For gambling. I'm working at a coffee shop. It's humbling. It sounds honest, I said. He nodded quiet for a long moment. I listened to that voicemail you left me, the one from Tuscany. I've listened to it a lot. He turned to me, his eyes clear for the first time in years. You were right. Thank you for not saving me. I didn't need to destroy my family. I didn't need revenge. I just needed to build something that was finally whole. I looked at the man beside me, not a golden boy, not a failure. Just my brother. I'm glad you're here, Trevor, I said. He smiled a real smile. Me too, Claire. Me too. I ended that night feeling a sense of peace I'd never known. And it made me think. This is a letter to you if you've ever felt like you were on the outside of your own life. To the one who always felt too complicated, too sensitive, or too different. To the one who tried so hard to be good enough, useful enough, quiet enough, just to earn a seat at the table. Your worth is not determined by their inability to see you. You do not have to apologize for existing. You do not have to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. The most powerful thing you can ever do is to stop begging for their love and start giving that love to yourself. Build your own table. Invite people who see you. Cook food that nourishes you. and create a life so full and so honest that their rejection becomes the most insignificant detail of your story. You are not the outsider. You are the one who finally got free.